Tá. Yeah, eu sit in the middle, yeah, please. Muito boa tarde, vamos iniciar o nosso painel agora deste horário, das 14h30 às 15h30. Gostaria de, nesse momento, apresentar a Sua Excelência, o embaixador do Zimbabwe, Meshack Kitchen, que vai fazer essa apresentação, essa palestra, que tem a tradução, né, via app, tanto do inglês para o português, quanto do português para o inglês, que está disponível, né, a opção de tradução. Então, Excelência, it is a great pleasure to have Your Excellency here to make this speech to our audience, present and also online. Thank you.
Zimbabwe is not just a country, not just a place. It's much, much more than that. It's the sound of the birds early in the morning as the sun rises. It's the people you meet and the smiles no matter where you go. Our rich history, culture, and heritage. Our vibrant art, music, and creativity. Our mighty rivers, cascading waterfalls, and enormous lakes. It's our pristine wildlife and nature, still so wild and untamed. From the rolling mystical mountains and dense forests of the Eastern Highlands, down to the breathtaking beauty of the Lowveld and the vast floodplains of the Zambezi Valley, across to the balancing rocks of the Matopos. Animals still wild and roaming free. It's the feeling of inner peace and relaxation. It's the rush you get from the endless adventure opportunities. It's the true beauty of a Zimbabwean sunset. It's the memories that will last forever. Zimbabwe is a feeling. Zimbabwe is a world of wonders.
Good afternoon, everyone. This afternoon, during lunch, I met somebody, and this lady said to me, "Where are you from?" I said, "I'm from Zimbabwe." And then she said, "You're from Zimbabwe? What country?" Now, I had to explain that Zimbabwe is actually a country. What that means is that we need to do a lot of work to improve awareness of what Zimbabwe is. And this is part of the reason why I'm here today. Because we realize that Zimbabwe may not be very well known in Brazil. And we would want to improve that awareness. What you have just seen here is a very short video. Thank you. Which one do I press here? Okay. It was just a very short video showing you a few things about Zimbabwe, most of them in the area of tourism. We will talk a little bit about that as we proceed. But to begin my presentation this afternoon, I've just talked to you about, give you a bit of background. Zimbabwe and Brazil enjoy very good relations. Our mission here, which is in Brasilia, was established in 2004. There have been two other ambassadors before me. This is my first visit here to Rio Grande do Sul, and I do expect that I'll be making more visits as we try to consolidate the relationship between this state and Zimbabwe. Since 2018, the government that we have under President Mnangagwa has always said that Zimbabwe is open for business. That is a policy position that President Mnangagwa has made, and that is what guides us. In other words, he says Zimbabwe is open for business, and Zimbabwe is a friend to all and an enemy to none. So we seek to establish relationships, and we seek to consolidate those relationships through business. Now, I did say that we need to work on awareness of what Zimbabwe is. Zimbabwe, as you can see, this one here, it is a country that is in Southern Africa, almost at the center of Southern Africa. And most of those countries that you see there form what we call the Southern Africa Development Community, or SEDEC in short. I'm saying this because, yes, it's a small country of 16.8 million, but when we're talking about business, we're talking not just about Zimbabwe, but we're talking about an area which we call SEDEC, which is about over 300 million people. So that is the potential that is there. It is also a member of Comercial, which is another regional organization, and it is again a member of the AFCFTA, Africa Continental Free Trade Area, which has a population of about 1.3 million people. Now, let me just mention one thing. I know that in this part of the world, in Brazil specifically, for historical reasons, many business people or other people will know certain countries more, like Mozambique, for example, or Angola, for example, and a few others. This is for historical reasons. But you'll notice that if you were to do business in Mozambique, Zimbabwe is just next door. And if you were to do business in Angola, Zimbabwe is also next door. So for those who think that perhaps it is very far, it is actually not that far. Now, why do business in Zimbabwe? Zimbabwe is largely an agro-based economy. I see visiting this part of Brazil that this state is very active in the area of agriculture, very strong actually. Now, there is an opportunity for cooperation there because Zimbabwe is also an agri-based economy. There are vast tracts of land which are available for, and the climate is also conducive for agriculture. Zimbabwe also has a very strong capital base with trainable workforce. It has a very high literacy rate of about 90%. I attended the Brazil-Africa Forum in Sao Paulo last year. And there were many statements that were being made. And there was one business person who was talking about doing business in Africa. He had experience doing business in Africa. He did not talk about Zimbabwe. He only made one sentence about Zimbabwe. And that was very interesting to me. Because he said, when you move across Africa and you get to Zimbabwe, one thing that you find is that they are very qualified engineers. He was talking about infrastructure development. So this is why I'm talking about a trainable workforce. So if you are going to invest in Zimbabwe, you know that you are not going to have any problems in that sphere. There is also a very well-established transport network, communication infrastructure, linking to all the other countries in the region. Zimbabwe, as I said, is a pro-business environment. A few years ago, the government established what we call the Zimbabwe Investment and Development Agency, ZIDA. This is a one-stop shop which allows you to register your business. You just go to that one-stop shop and everything is processed until you get your papers. This is an attempt to improve the ease of doing business in Zimbabwe. At the end, I think you will find there is a code that you can copy, and it will give you all the information about the Zimbabwe Investment and Development Agency, ZIDA. ZIDA is also responsible for a number of special economic zones in the country. And you also find that information, including the incentives that they provide. This is the information about the Zimbabwe Investment and Development Agency that I was talking about. Just to mention that Zimbabwe and Brazil have a technical cooperation agreement which was signed in 2006. This is just to give confidence to business persons who want to do business in Zimbabwe. What are the investment opportunities that are available in Zimbabwe? I'm just going through this list because I will give you a little bit of more detail later. You have opportunities in water and irrigation development, financial services, infrastructure development in the area of communication, construction, energy, and transport. You also have opportunities in rural development and industrialization. You have opportunities in agriculture, mining, manufacturing, and tourism. Now, I mentioned rural development. Just to mention that we're talking here about irrigation schemes. We're talking about development of horticulture, gardens, dairy development, and integrated skills development programs. Agriculture. Some of the value chains that you might wish to look at: cotton, from cotton growing up to clothing. Soybean, I know that Rio Grande do Sul is a powerhouse when it comes to soybean, and there are possibilities for cooperation in that area. We also do tobacco. In fact, at one point, it was the mainstay of our economy. We do also maize, animal skin to hides, horticulture, and sugarcane. Okay, agriculture and agro-processing continued here. We are looking at the manufacture and supply of agriculture inputs, fertilizers, and chemicals. One thing that we realized about 2 years ago, when the situation cropped up somewhere in Eastern Europe, we realized that we were over-dependent on other countries to give us fertilizers and chemicals for our agriculture. And we now, therefore, have taken a decision to say we want to develop the production of fertilizers so that we are sure that our agriculture can continue without interruption. We also want to mechanize our agriculture. We are talking about irrigation schemes and mechanization equipment. I was walking around the park here, looking at the various types of equipment, and I must say that I was impressed by what I saw, and there are huge possibilities for cooperation in that area. These are just some of the products that we produce. I know that there are maybe similarities here and there, but perhaps what differs are issues of scale and comparative advantage. Again, some of the products. Now, we are also a very strong mining country. There are over 42 different types of minerals that are found in Zimbabwe. This includes gold, diamond, platinum, coal, lithium, and so forth and so forth. But what we are interested in is, one, the exploration, and then we are also interested in the mining and the beneficiation of those minerals. It is our hope that companies coming to invest will be interested in beneficiation of the minerals so that we both can benefit from the investment. Pharmaceuticals and medical equipment. There are a number of companies that are already existing in Zimbabwe in the area of pharmaceuticals. But these companies need modernization in terms of equipment. Of course, there are also opportunities for setting up new companies in the area of pharmaceuticals. This is a critical area for us. It is very important because as you realize, what we experienced, what everyone in the world experienced a few years ago when we were struck by the pandemic, taught us some lessons that we need to be prepared. We need to be able to develop our industries so that they can produce the necessary drugs for our survival. I did mention the leather and leather products. We have national head, which is about 5.2 million. We are working hard to see if we can grow that head, and I can tell you that we are already cooperating with ABC Brazil to work on livestock development. And our aim is that we should have companies that develop, that beneficiate the leather so that we can have products in that area. There are other manufacturing opportunities like in the area of food and beverages, wood and furniture, solar and wind equipment, tobacco processing, motor vehicle assembly. I want specifically to talk about, I want to mention solar and wind equipment, not necessarily because I'm expecting investment in solar energy, but to highlight the fact that we are looking for investment in the area of energy. We have some of our energy from hydroelectric power. And we would want to see if that can be further developed so that we can increase the power that we have. We will also invite investment in other forms of energy. Irrigation equipment I've already talked about. And then we're also talking about construction equipment, assembling of durable consumer goods, metals and minerals. Talking about construction equipment, I did mention infrastructure development earlier on. A few years ago, I think from 2 or so years ago, the Zimbabwe government made a decision that they were going to do a very serious effort to develop its transport network. Only last year, I think the results were very evident. There are brand new roads and brand new bridges that were established only as late as last year. The opportunities are still there because there is need for more development of roads, the road network, including bridges. Energy and power development I've already talked about. Construction of infrastructure, again, this is what I was talking about. Now, I'll talk a little bit about the tourism sector. You will remember at the beginning we were watching that clip. We have prime tourist destinations like the Victoria Falls. The Victoria Falls is a world-famous tourism resort. It is a UNESCO heritage site. It is between Zimbabwe and our northern neighbor, which is Zambia. A lot has been said about the Victoria Falls, and let me say that you cannot visit Zimbabwe without visiting the Victoria Falls. I know that there are very big falls here in Brazil, but the Victoria Falls is different, I can assure you. Particularly in terms of the width and also the depth of the waterway. A single chasm of water. So it is a major tourism destination. The Great Zimbabwe National Monument, which was also shown in that video, is also a UNESCO heritage site. Then there is a list of other tourist resort areas. What we are saying is that we need to develop these tourist resorts further. So there are opportunities for construction of hotels and conference venues in those areas. Incentives for investment, we're talking about tax holidays, we're talking about duty-free importation of raw materials. I'm not going to detail this because, again, if you log on to that ZIDA we were talking about earlier, the Zimbabwe Investment Development Agency, you will find all those investment incentives there, because that is the reason why ZIDA was established. Let me conclude this presentation by saying once again that our President Emmerson Mnangagwa has said that Zimbabwe is open for business, and for this reason we want to invite everyone to come and do business in Zimbabwe. And let me also say that perhaps a very good starting point, I've already mentioned about ZIDA. There is the Zimbabwe International Trade Fair. Now, the Zimbabwe International Trade Fair is an annual trade fair. This year, it will be held between 21 and 26 April. And we are extending an invitation to all business persons to attend the Zimbabwe International Trade Fair. The reason we are saying this is that that trade fair gives you a full view of what the potentials are for business. It does not only talk about trade, it talks also about investment opportunities. So it is a complete fair. We will be very pleased to see you at the Zimbabwe International Trade Fair. There is also going to be a tourism fair and also an annual fair, which we call Sanganai or Hlanganani World Tourism Expo. This year it is going to be held in a city called Mutare, which is in the eastern part of the country. It will be from 12 to 14 October. Again, for those interested in tourism, this is your opportunity, and we'll be happy to welcome you. Now, before I end my presentation, there is a flyer which I invite you to look at, which talks about the Zimbabwe International Trade Fair. I hope they are ready to show it. So this is about the Zimbabwe International Trade Fair, which will be held in April this year. Okay. I was hoping that it also had QR code, but I don't see it here. Thank you very much. I'm available for any questions, if there are any. Thank you. I have noticed that since we have been here, the beginning of this fair, let me say we have not been asking any questions. And from my experience, it's because people fully understand, or because they have not understood anything. Thank you.
Thank you, Excellency. Thank you very much. Yes, it's really very nice that we see your Zimbabwe. It's very nice. It's something that we wish to visit. Here is the QR code. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Okay. So thank you very much, Excellency. Thank you. Thank you again.